Welcome back to Random Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I shall see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today. What should I talk about today? I don't know. What videos have I seen recently? I watched. It's not a bit weird. Saw watch and used quite interchangeably here, but watched a video by Chubby Emu quite recently. If you don't know Chubby Emu is, he's like a doctor, a medical doctor that is, who covers basically like more, not eccentric, it's not a word, but more unusual, I suppose, medical cases which have happened throughout history, and goes into the sort of like biological process and the understanding of the doctor's responses and that sort of thing behind it. And I think it's very interesting because he breaks it down pretty well, I think, for the layman, but we'll get into that for a bit. Hello everyone, right now in Fawnhallow, it's 4:05 PM on Thursday, June 9th, 2022. I don't watch all of his videos, but he's got some really good ones, like the one about the scientist who accidentally got some mercury on her glove. It was a really interesting one. I'm trying to think what other one there was, but there was one about I can't remember. It was about a TikToker who drank a lot of something, or maybe it was like medicine or something. And anyway, all his videos are highly interesting, I suppose. At least to my curious mind of just being like, of course I have been to the hospital a few times, here and there. Never for like actually, I'm trying to think. I've never been to A&E for like I was going to say medical reasons, that's such a dumb response, for like a non-physical reasons. Like the only times I've been to A&E most of the time have been because I dislocate my shoulder. If you don't know, I'm hypermobile, so I tend to like, my joints tend to bend a lot further past their actual joint bending to the limits that normal people have. Namely my fingers and toes, they bend quite far. You might be shocked, or maybe you wouldn't be. I don't really know. But yeah, I just get my shoulder often. But I've never been like, for like actual. I'm trying to think of what a word would be like a. I can't. I keep wanting to say medical reason. That doesn't make any sense. I like one you got. I don't know what on earth we're talking about, but like an inherent biological, anatomical reason, maybe. I don't know. Okay, you know what I mean, maybe, or maybe you don't. But a lot of the stuff he covers is, I seem like toxicology sort of thing, where he, like, people ingest things that they shouldn't be, or they do something a little bit out of the ordinary. Sometimes, just through bad decisions, and sometimes through just, accidental, like, ignorance. And I'll say I'm not really here to judge the actual people who were affected, because it's not really sort of my place to judge that sort of thing. I'm just sort of here for the interesting biological look behind it. Basically, the way he breaks down exactly, like, seeing the responses and the sort of bedside manner, not the bedside manner, but of doctors like responding to our patients, like what tests they do, what sort of like how they react to the information they got and the conclusions they draw, and how they break it down and why they came to particular conclusions, etc., etc. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And I love these sort of educational channels which are able to break down complicated things in fields I don't know in a way that I can understand. Which is probably not surprising, because, I talk about it multiple times. The most recent one was actually quite an interesting one, because it was about spiders. And I'm not really sure if I talked about spiders all that much before. But, it was, long story short, it was like some kid in America. He was a bit sloppy with how he looks after his room, like most teenagers are. Not me, to be fair. Or, well, not me in like my room. My room is very tidy, although nowadays I suppose it gets a bit more messy. But, there's still some sort of sense, mostly a sense of order to it. I like to think. He was a bit sloppy, clothes on the floor, and he like went up to put on some socks or something, and he felt like a weird tingle in his foot, basically. And then it turns out eventually that his foot was bitten by a brown recluse spider, which, if you're an expert in spiders, which I'm not, but he says in video, basically, like, they are venomous spiders, which, they bite you, they have some, like, toxins in them, but they very, very rarely bite unless extremely agitated. In this case, he got actually bit by one because it was in the sock, and, he put his foot in the sock, so kind of like squished a little bit, and it went, what's going on? Understandably so. Probably an equally confusing time for the spider. And the video itself is actually interesting, but got me a little bit thinking about spiders and that sort of thing. Obviously people are quite put off by spiders. The majority of people, I'd say, are quite put off by spiders. I don't know if it's the most common phobia. I feel like I read a statistic once about like agoraphobia was like the most common phobia. But that's because like agoraphobia is a really generalized term, I think, of phobia, because I thought it just meant fear of open spaces, but it can be like fear of like open spaces, it can be like fear of crowds, it can be fear of other things. Essentially, I'm not here to like disparage against it or anything like that. I'm just sort of here to sort of explain the statistical it's not really an anomaly, I suppose, statistical idea behind it in the first place. But I think for spiders is quite up there, arachnophobia, as it's called, and that sort of thing. And, I know certain people don't even like describing about spiders in the first place. And I certainly have friends. My friends go along all sort of like different lines of a spider phobia spectrum, from like friends who can't even stand spiders to friends who would probably pick them up and I don't know why I was gonna like pick them up and eat them. Obviously not eat them, but like pick them up and sort of like cradle them in their hands is what I meant. Honestly, the person's probably might be watching right now if they see the title something to do with spiders, and they'll be like, "Oh, they're curious." You know who you are. Anyway, yeah. I mean, where do I fall on that spectrum? I'm not particularly scared of spiders. I feel like I talked about my sense of phobia and that sort of thing. I tend to have quite dull reactions to a lot of things. Dull reactions is perhaps a bit of a harsh word. I tend to have quite muted reactions. I mean, you probably see that if you see any of my videos. I'm especially these ones where I'm just sort of casually talking, which is a lot closer to sort of my default resting state. Is I have a quite sort of like relaxed, chilled, maybe not like relaxed chilled personality, but I have a very sort of like low-key responses to things about something. I mean, if you want to see anything, you can just go watch Little Nightmares and have the fact I don't react to anything which happens in Little Nightmares. Which, I don't know. I don't know if that's normal or not in particular, but at some point I'll play Little Nightmares too, and then we'll see if I have any strong reactions to that. But I talked about it before, especially when it comes to horror games, because, while I am human, I still get things like, when I see scary things happening, like people standing at the end of a building and, like peering over the edge of that sort of thing. I still get like sort of like sweaty palms and the natural like sort of biological reactions, but like my psychological reaction seems to be like broken or something, or at least it doesn't seem to match up. Like if my psychological response to seeing like looking over a building being like, well, that's a bit dangerous, but obviously my body doesn't react in the same way. Would I do it? No, because I'm like someone I talked about before. I'm not a risk taker. I'm not someone who's like likes to gamble with my life or that sort of thing. Well, if it was like to give an example, basically is if the situation is safe, I'm fine with doing whatever. But if it's dangerous, then if it's like actually like big chance of like serious injury or like loss of life, and obviously I'm not going to do it. So if it was like I don't know, tightrope walk across the Grand Canyon without a harness on or anything, I'd be like, no, obviously not. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to perish. I can't even tightrope walk, so I don't know why I gave this. Maybe a better, what would a better thing be? Like zip line across the Grand Canyon, except for the only thing holding you to the zip line is your like grip strength. No, I'm not gonna do that. That's a dumb idea. But if it was like, oh, you're in a harness and you zip line down the Grand Canyon, I'd be like, absolutely. And I'd be like, I'm absolutely not bothered by that at all. Which is a bit of a weird sort of dichotomy, I suppose. Like, what's the difference? Well, the difference, at least in my mind, is one of them, if I let go, I perish, and the other one, if I let go, then, well, I guess I don't even need to hold on because I'm in a harness, I suppose, in the first place. So, that's kind of explains my response to a lot of things which, make people scared and that sort of, well, things that generically make people scared. Like I've been in one haunted house before, and it was in South Korea. It was in a place called Lotte World, which is basically an indoor sort of amusement park. I remember I went with one of my friends and we went in, and he was understandably like kind of scared. He's a very emotive person. He wears his heart on his sleeve, kind of. Well, he's very expressive is probably how I'd put it in that sort of thing. But he does like horror. We both like horror, but he likes a sort of slasher, corny, cheesy horror, and I like the sort of creeping tension, suspense, thriller horror. We have both our different perspectives and that sort of thing, but obviously, he was a bit nervous going, not nervous, like he didn't feel like he was in danger or anything, but things jumping out is spooky a lot of the time. But of course, me sort of just walking, I just like walked through, and then I was just like, I feel like I'm sort of ruining this experience of a haunted house, and so, I'm just walking first, and then like something jumps out, and I go, hi, and I just keep walking, because it's like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing in a haunted house, to be honest, in the first place, but it's fun. Like, don't get me wrong, and I thought it was fun, but it's just like, I feel like my reaction's not exactly the natural reaction or whatever. And anyway, it was a lot more fun when I got him to go first or whatever, because I have like empathetic emotions and that sort of thing, even if I don't go like when I see something scary, even the fact that he goes ha 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 makes me like go ha 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 with him. I don't really know where I was going with this. So anyway, this is a huge massive tangent just to sort of loop back around to spiders, being like, yeah, I'm not really bothered by spiders, I would say, but to add on to the danger thing, I would be bothered by like an incredibly like toxic spider or a particularly aggressive spider. on that sort of thing. If it was like, you know, I was like a professional, not professional necessarily, but someone who was like experienced with handling spiders or that sort of thing, and they had like a pet tarantula, being like, oh, this tarantula is really docile, whatever, if you just hold it like this, it won't bite you. I'll be like, okay, yeah, sure, no, I'll carry it around in my hands, I don't really mind, I'll just do what you tell me to, because, you know, part of the logic is also like, I don't want to hurt this animal, you know. You know, these tiny insects are much smaller than us. Like, you know, one wrong move would be, you know, quite deadly, I suppose, for the insect. But for us, well, I mean, it would hurt, but, you know, we'd sort of get over it, I suppose. And we have modern medicines in a lot of cases to treat these sort of things. But if it was just like, you know, I was just walking around, you know, my house, and just in the corner of a corner, I saw like, I don't know, I know a black widow is very venomous. I don't know if it's particularly aggressive, but okay, some really aggressive like venomous spider in the corner, I'd be like, yeah, I don't really want to particularly deal with that, and you know, I guess I would be a bit scared by it. But it's sort of like, I don't know. It's not scared because it's a spider. It's scared because of like, I don't want to be like seriously injured. And it's like that. I guess it's more like a sort of risk evaluation, being like, it's not worth like even considering toying around with this. If I saw that happen, I'd be like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'd I guess I'd look up how to deal with a spider online. I mean, I live in the UK. There might be venomous spiders, but there's not many, at the very least. I don't live in Australia. I'm not dealing with these sort of things and on a day-to-day basis. But obviously, you know, a lot of people are quite put off by spiders and that sort of thing. Like even like very small, tiny, harmless spiders, you know, cause more concern and you know, that's fair. I mean, it's a biological sort of like evolution in our mind, isn't it? Like, we as humans don't like spiders because, you know, we're sort of like trained evolutionary to not like them because they, you know, are kind of bad for survival in a lot of cases with venomous things and things like that. So, you know, I'm not gonna like, yeah, disparage you if you are scared of spiders or, you know, have an aversion to them. That's, you know, kind of just like, fair enough. It's kind of like built into the human genome, one might say. But I do think it's a bit of a shame if you know, well, I think it's a bit of a shame if you are scared of things, irrationally scared of things. I mean, that's what phobias are in the first place, they're irrational hatred or distaste of things. Because it does sort of like cut you off from doing certain things. Like obviously if you're scared of spiders, if you don't like creepy crawlies and, you know, that sort of thing, when you go to like zoos and you can't like look at other insect exhibits or anything like that. And you might say like that's quite a trivial, like small matter. And yeah, it kind of is, you know, a lot of these things. You know, scared of heights? Oh no, you can't do like bungee jumping or like skydiving. Oh well, I guess. Like, there's a lot of things in life, so really it doesn't matter that much. But it is a bit of a shame, I suppose, just to have like that sort of thing cut off. And I'm not like a therapy expert or anything, so like how you actually go about overcoming your phobias, if you even need to overcome your phobias in the first place, I suppose, is sort of up to you. I mean, the golden rule for these sort of things is if it impacts your like livelihood, it's probably worth looking into trying to sort of like either like get around it or work through it, etc, etc, etc. But I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist. Please go talk to them instead of me about it. Well, hold on. That sounded a lot ruder than I meant. I meant like, please seek professional opinion on this sort of thing before taking my opinion as what you should abide by. That's what I meant, not like don't talk to me, which is a bit weird. I don't mind if people talk to me about these sort of things, to be honest. I like to think I'm quite approachable when it comes to these sort of things, but you know, maybe I'm not. It's not really up to me to decide, I suppose, in the first place. But anyway, tangent. I mean, I suppose you're kind of used to me going on tangents now. What was I talking about? Phobia? Yeah. I mean, like, I don't have particularly extreme phobias, I think. You know, I think probably the closest I'd come to saying I have a phobia would be like I have some sort of like germophobia, but not like a huge amount. It's not like I'm not like paralysed by it, but I do tend to avoid it, I suppose. when I can, and not like avoid germs. Like, I mean, I can't like physically see germs, but like I tend to avoid dirty things, and I tend to clean probably a bit more. What's the word? I want to say like fastidiously, but I don't think that's a word. Is that a word? I was nervous. Oh yeah, I forgot. It was like, I suppose that fastidiously, fastidiously. Fastidious. I do tend to clean a bit more fastidiously than I assume the average person does and that sort of thing. You know, I tend to wash my hands a bit more often than an average person, you know, carry hand sanitizer, especially in these sort of like, well, pandemic sunsetting times. Well, I guess it still kind of is a pandemic, to be honest, but, you know, I'll leave that up to the actual organisations to rule on that judgment. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying with this. But it's not, I would not say it really impacts my sort of like way of living or that sort of thing. You know, I'm still fine with, you know, like roughing it, whatever. You know, I would just like choose not to in most situations. But you know, if push came to shove, I would just deal with it, I suppose. So to call it a phobia, I feel like sort of like belittles other people who actually genuinely have a phobia of it, where it actually becomes like paralysing or starts affecting their livelihood, and a lot more in the sense that for me it's just like an annoyance is perhaps how I describe it. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever actually come into close contact with a tarantula, so maybe it's sort of like maybe I'm sort of overestimating myself. I mean, I've seen tarantulas like in terrariums. Is terrarium the right word? I'm not sure if it's the right word for like insect enclosures, like in zoos and that sort of thing. Like I find the insect exhibits in zoos fascinating. In first place, mainly I guess because you can kind of get like more close up to the insects. You might have your piece to say about zoos, which is fair enough. You know, certainly kind of depends on zoo. Perhaps enclosures or like nature parks might be like a better thing to sort of comment on. But you know. I'll be honest, I have been to national parks not that recently, but, you know, the countryside, I suppose. You know, I always find insects a little bit more fascinating in a certain degree than actual, you know, big animals themselves. I don't know why, because I feel like the insect world is so different, I suppose, compared to the, like, mammalian world that we live in as humans, right? Like, even small things that you don't even think about, like a circulatory system is, like, completely different in insects or something. Compared to like mammals, which makes sense obviously because you know they're very tiny, but it's all to do with like surface area to like volume ratio being like having like a much smaller effect or something in small creatures. I don't know, I learned about it in biology once. I don't recall quite off the top of my head. It was actually like, I can't remember why, but like a couple of weeks ago I got very curious about being like, what if I just like owned a tarantula? What's it like to have a pet tarantula? And then I learned about like New World and Old World tarantulas and that sort of thing, where like Old World tarantulas tend to be more aggressive or whatever. Because like I've always heard that tarantulas tend to be very docile pets of that sort of thing. They're kind of like pets you have for show. They're kind of like chill dudes most of the time. They don't really attack unless provoked. They're like the big cuddly grizzly teddy bears, I suppose, of the insect world. But then, you know, I learned about Old World tarantulas versus New World tarantulas, and, you know, there's obviously a lot of different types of tarantulas out there, and I'm not that well versed in any of them. But I don't know, some random YouTuber, I don't know, you could probably look it up and you'll probably find it. And I also don't know how the veracity of a statement, I just kind of assumed it was true, you know, and then I can only take things so much as at face value, I suppose. And I'm not actually seriously looking into, like, getting a pet spider or anything. At least not right now. I think if I would get a pet anything, it would probably be a cat, I feel like, is the best balance for what I'm looking for in a pet. I feel like I don't have enough energy for a dog. But I suppose if I had got a high energy cat, I don't know what I'd do about that then. You know, I suppose it's sort of like you kind of have to match the energy of your pet, hey? But anyway, I shouldn't be wearing a sweater. It's not cold enough to be wearing like the sort of turtleneck sweater I'm wearing today. It was basically all I've established. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I was going to check if I had KK Mambo or not. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so if it was like Old World versus New World tarantulas, apparently it's for Old World ones are very aggressive, like ones which do tend to attack quite quickly and rapidly or whatever. Or tend to. I'm not going to say all of them do. New World ones tend to be quite docile or whatever. Most of the time. But it's like tarantulas can get quite easily agitated or something as well, so you know, it's the sort of thing that, like, apparently according to the video, most of the time you shouldn't really be taking tarantulas out to like sort of walk about anyway, they're sort of just meant to be like, I don't know how you describe it, but like, I don't want to say trophy pets because that's got like quite a negative connotation I suppose to it, but sort of like the pets where you sort of just like leave them to their own sort of business in their habitarium, you know, you obviously like provide them food, shelter, and protection, and clean their tank or whatever. They're not like, you know, cats and dogs where you like play with them for like entertainment or that sort of thing. They're just sort of, you know, you're meant to sort of like appreciate them and look at them, as I understand it. Don't quote me on that. And I was like, that's fascinating, you know. I didn't know that about tarantulas, to be honest, and I might be wrong. So maybe I don't know. I did like the opposite of learning. It's like I learned anti-information or something. I'm purposely wrong information about it. But I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So I don't know. I went into not much of a rabbit hole. It was, what's like a small rabbit hole? Like a mole tunnel? Of like, just sort of looking up like what caring for a tarantula would sort of be like, or like what sort of tarantula would I get. And this guy was like making recommendations about these are like really good sort of beginner friendly tarantulas, whatever. This guy had so many tarantulas, by the way. He had like 100 or something. And I was like, whoa. Like, I don't know, tarantulas also make a very interesting noise, like sort of hissing noise. I don't even know how spiders make noises, I'm going to be honest. But anyway, insects are kind of fascinating. At least last time I remember I went to zoo, I don't even remember what zoo it was. Oh, no, maybe it was an aquarium in Japan. Yeah, it might have been an aquarium. No. Wait, yes? Was this in Japan? I mean, I went to an aquarium not that long ago, I think, with some of my friends. Actually, it was quite a long time ago. It was like 2 years ago now, I think about it. But still, I just have this memory of going to like an insectarium or something somewhere. I don't remember where it was. I think this one was in Japan, and just being very fascinated by all the creatures. I think it was like some sort of cockroaches. There was like one of them which was sort of like climbing up the glass pane, but they were like in these boxes I got along the wall or that sort of thing. Is that how you're meant to keep your insects? I don't really know. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't know how much space an insect particularly needs. I suppose because like sort of like the size ratio, you could probably do pretty well with just like a regular old fish tank or what have you. But still, I was very fascinated by these like cockroaches, or I think they were cockroaches. I can't really remember. Sort of like crawling up this tank. And there was also like this mantis, which was just like hanging upside down from like the gridded mesh, I suppose, from the top of its little enclosure. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I remember watching it for a while. I might have just also made that memory up. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. It's a weird thing with some of my memories that sometimes they just, they're not like made up, but you know, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to tell whether this one was just like some very realistic dream I had or if it was not. But probably the actual answer is it's probably a mix of both. It's probably a thing which happened and then my dream like extrapolated upon it and made it me remember it this certain way. But it is an event which probably happened. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, spiders are very fascinating, is what I say. How do I treat spiders normally when I see them in my home? Normally I sort of just try and scoop them up and like pop them outside. You know, and I know the normal sort of reactions like, you know, chuck a slipper at it, or like whatever, squash it in some sort of way. That's feel it's a bit unnecessary, to be honest. At least I do have a benefit, of course, speaking from someone who lives in the UK, where basically no spider is ever going to bite me and no spider is ever going to, you know, put me in the hospital. Hopefully, I mean there might be, but if they are, I'm blissfully ignorant of them in the first place. So perhaps better off I don't know. I'm not really sure what to say to that. But yeah, like no spiders are particularly dangerous. Like I don't know, we've got like garden spiders or something in Britain. I don't even know. We also got daddy longlegs, which by the way are most hilarious. Like, they're not even spiders, they're like crane flies or something, aren't they? But, I don't know, I feel like daddy longlegs are some, like, the goofiest insects in the insect world. Like, their legs, if you don't know, as the name sort of foretells, their legs are just humongously long for no apparent reason. I mean, obviously it probably has a reason. Ooh, conversation. Hold that thought. Blah. What's wrong, Audie? That was a pretty heavy sigh. This pop star I saw on TV last night was so amazing. She was like everything I admire and more. It got me stressing about if I'm ever going to get where she is. Don't sell yourself short. You are you, and that is fantastic. You're a fearless bug charging towards a flame. I suppose quite relevant. Excuse me? Fame, not flame. I don't want to get burnt to a crisp. No, I can do this. I just need to work hard and get super glamorous. I'll be the best pop star ever. Great. I see you've got your shine back. I look forward to your radical success. No. Raymond backs you, Audie. Anyway, yeah, crane flies are like some of the goofiest insects. I don't know. But I guess just the fact that like the body proportions are all just like totally out of whack with each other just makes it feel a little bit goofy. Actually, I had a random flashback how I just like scratched my cheek for some reason. Hold on, what my missions do we have? Where in year 2 or year 1, I actually quite liked insects a lot, so much so that when we had to do like one of our classwork project things we had to do, and I think it was something that we did over multiple lessons. I don't know what subject it was for, but we had to make a book about something scientific, I assume, and I did mine about insects or what have you. And I remember like I made a page about each insect. I like drew the insect and like as well as my 6-year-old self could. Is that you? No, year 1 might be younger than that. 5-year self? 5-year-old self? Hold on. Is that right? Because year 3 is 6 and 7, isn't it? Is that right? Hold on. 11, 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, 7. Oh, year 3 is 8, 7. What? 11, 10 in year 6. 10, 9. 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, 7. Wow, year 3 is 8, 7. I thought it was 7, 6 is 9 time. Year 2 is 7, 6. I think it was year 2, so I would have been 7. So as well as my 7-year-old self could, I do some insects, and then I wrote like facts about them that I learned from this, I don't know, an insect book I was reading, I guess. I don't remember it that well, to be perfectly honest, but I sort of vaguely remember it. And I remember, you know, making a page about spiders, and that's when I learned spiders aren't insects, they're arachnids. And I was like, what? Blew my little mind. Because I remember just like drawing this like really nice spider, but you know, putting some work into the spider, that sort of thing, and then like going to write about some facts about spiders or whatever in this little book that I made, and then seeing in the fact book being like, a fun fact about spiders are not actually insects. And I remember just being like, oh no, what do I do? Spiders aren't insects, but I made a book about a book about insects. So I remember just like sort of telling my teacher. I wasn't like crying or anything, like I wasn't like having a mental breakdown, but I remember I was feeling like a little bit stressed about it, being like, oh, you know, as kids tend to do, even though they don't really have much of a way of a scope on necessarily what like actual problems and whatnot, or you know, apparently not good enough to come up with solutions. At least I wasn't. I remember going up to my teacher being like, I made a book about insects, but spiders aren't even insects, but I've already drawn a spider, what should I do? And she was very nice. Obviously she worked with kids, you know, for a while. She, you know, she kind of knows how kids are, that sort of thing, so she gave me a very nice suggestion of being like, why don't you put insects and arachnids on the front? And I was like, oh, I can do that. And I did that, and it was all good. Anyway, if you're wondering why spiders aren't insects, someone like insects definition is like they had to have 6 legs, or they had to have like a head and wait, hold on, head. So that's head, something, and thorax. What are the parts of an insect called? Hold on. Insect diagram. Is head? I feel like it's anthra or something like that, but it doesn't sound right in my head. Head, thorax. Oh, abdomen. I knew it's HTA, but I combine it in my head. I was gonna say anthrax. I was like, it's not anthrax. What are you talking about? Anyway, yeah. Insects need like a head, thorax, and the abdomen. Insects, spiders only have like a head, an abdomen or something, and they also have 8 legs. Someone like that's why it's an arachnid. I don't really remember. I'm not an insectologist, arachnologist. Anyway, I don't really know what I was talking about. Like spiders, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to round off this episode here and puzzle on what I'm actually going to call this episode. But for now, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join me Dear Darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.